Well, I've already told you about one garden that we're doing some sort of renovation on this year. But right here is where we're going to be making a new garden. Now, technically, this is probably better considered a garden extension because it is going to link up with this garden behind me here. But there is a feature happening in this garden, which is probably the feature I get asked most about in terms of why don't you have that in your garden? Well, now I'm going to have it. And I'm going to share all the information on what that is and how we're getting it into the garden in what I think is going to be a series of building this garden extension. Because even though this is a fairly small area, there's some interesting things that are going to be happening here that's kind of going to run the gamut of building a garden of almost any size. And I'm going to kick this series off today telling you all about the design and what's happening here. Hi everyone, I'm Erin, the Impatient Gardener. I live and garden here in southeastern Wisconsin, zone 6A, or maybe a little bit of 5B. And I love to share information and education for gardeners in any part of their garden journey, so I hope you'll join me. All right, so let me help you get the lay of the land so you can figure out where in the garden we are. Right in front of me is the vegetable garden. This is the path that kind of widens through the sort of more natural border area over to the vegetable garden. And this is, as you can see, pretty much right by the road. And we're gonna be extending this garden a little bit, basically out to the existing edge. Just follow me a little bit here. We're gonna come around this way. It extends, I don't wanna walk out of the camera frame. It extends about like this, and we're gonna kind of naturally flow this into this border over here. Now, there has been one change to this garden, if you're familiar with this area, that is important to this, and that is over here. Now, if you're familiar with this area because you've seen this area in other videos, you might notice the large tree stump behind me. That was from a Norway spruce that we had taken out because it was a matter of protecting the red oak behind it. We had an arborist out and we got some advice on what we should do about those two trees being quite intermingled. But let's talk about the meat of this project. Let's not bury the lead. Right where I'm standing, thereabouts, is where this special thing is going to go into the garden. It's going to be a fountain. Yeah, well, I don't have any fountains in the garden. I get asked about it all the time. People have suggested it in various places, and there's a variety of reasons why I haven't put a fountain in my garden, not the least of which is because I really struggle with how to get power to it, and we are going to deal with that in this series. I will talk you through how we're going to accomplish that here, as well as how we're going to get this thing installed. I'm not going to tell you what this fountain looks like because we are going to leave a little something to keep you excited about what's coming. But it's round, I think I can safely say that, and it's going to go here. So you might be thinking, this is a really weird place to put kind of a big garden feature. Why wouldn't you be putting something like this right next to your patio or right next to your house? And in my mind, when you're thinking about how to place important features in the garden, there's two very different ways to think about it. One is, this is where we spend our time. This is where we're gonna see it the most. We're gonna put it right here. That would be your patio scenario, right? What if there was something to draw you to another part of the garden? What if there's a reason to go there other than you just happen to be walking by? And that's kind of where a fountain over here comes in. And as I explain this design to you, I think you'll understand there's other reasons that I think this fountain is going to be in a very cool spot over here. So one of the things that we're going to be dealing with a lot here is some grading and some changing of levels in here. The first one is going to be changing the level where that fountain's going to go, because that fountain, if we just stuck it in the garden here, well, obviously it would be uneven because it's not level, so you would have to fix that. But it's kind of down in a hole. The road is, well, I need to get a laser level out here to figure this out, but I would say conservatively, the top of the road is probably at the height of my knees or even higher. So we're quite low right here. So we're going to build this up and we're going to make the bottom of that fountain level with the road. Obviously, other things are going to have to come up. Crucially though, what will not come up is this spot right here. And that's because this sort of functions a little bit as a ditch. We need to make sure that we allow the road to drain off so that we don't create flooding onto the road. So let me pop up the design on the screen for you here so you can see what this is going to look like. And I'll walk you through it a little bit. And I'm also going to show you the footage of me sort of laying this out because this was all laid out in fall. And I've been working on this, planning this since fall. So we've got the fountain in the middle and we've got sort of a rounded area around it. Now I need to come back in, and even though I drew this out, most of the paint that I left here in fall has all disappeared. So I can get a chance to sort of refine exactly where things are going to go. But we're going to have a smallish garden that essentially wraps around that fountain. So another great thing in addition to this fountain that's happening here is that we're going to get some screening from the road because we are going to be doing kind of a line of trees in a row, bit of a visual hedge, if not a totally solid wall. That's going to be happening around here. That'll give us really nice screening from the road to the house. But in addition to that, the idea here is that we're going to get the feel of a bit of a secret garden. So for the most part in time, this area will be blocked off from view. Now, a lot of people walk on this road too. It's a pretty interactive neighborhood, at least in summer. So imagine you're walking by this garden and you hear the fountain. Maybe you even see a little glimpse of it. One of the elements of garden design that we often overlook, and I think you have to really go out of your way to create it, is a sense of intrigue. And I think that's very well done when we bring in other senses, including scent and sound. And so you get this sound of this fountain, but you can't really see it. It actually makes the fountain, I think, better. Now we'll be able to see it, and certainly it'll be beautiful when it will draw you down this path and right into that fountain area. We'll also be able to see it, but other people won't be able to see it until we invite them in to come take a walk around the garden, which I love to do as well. So I am generally resistant to what I consider to be ring around the rosy type of planting. I don't feel like if you've got a round area, you necessarily have to line it. I think that's our natural inclination. I don't think it's always the right move, at least not for me. All that said, that's what we're going to do in this garden. In order to continue that screening and create interest over here, we're going to actually bring some plants in from the garden. We're actually reusing some shrubs in the garden are coming over here. We'll talk about that, of course, when we get there. That'll be going between the trees. And then we're going to have probably one other perennial that will mix into that. And then within that, that's where we're going to stop the sort of pattern, the round pattern of planting and the ring around the rosy thing. And then within that, we'll have kind of a mix of plants. We'll be using, some of the plants we'll be using, I'm drawing directly from this garden over here. This is a fairly large stand of Calamintha Montrose White, lovely plant. We'll continue that in here because we do want this to naturally flow. I'm also going to add in a small path, probably right along here. This is our main path, and then we'll probably lead right into where the fountain's going to be, but also it's going to kind of walk past it too, because we do need to get to this part of the garden. That's one of the things I'm trying to work into some of my deeper beds now, is some sort of walking path. Not just for maintenance, but also so that I can enjoy those parts of the garden a little bit more. If you don't have a natural walking path, your brain is being told you aren't welcome to step into this garden. So I think in some of these deeper beds, for instance over here, like these over here, I think we're going to start working some walking paths into those as they naturally happen. I'm not going to set out to do those, but we'll figure out where they should be and kind of naturally work them into the garden. And they probably will just be nothing more than, like this path is just a mulch path. That probably will be what this one is. I guess we haven't decided that for sure yet. The path continues here through the end of this bed, which will not extend all the way to the vegetable garden, but this path will just continue on through here, might bend a little bit, and then we've got something special happening over here. Somewhere in this neck of the woods, I have an opportunity to plant a tree that I have wanted since the first time I laid eyes on it, and wanted even more from the second and third times I laid eyes on it. And I'll be sharing more with you about specific plants that's going to go into this planting in future episodes. I am going to tell you what this tree is because it's just that cool. And this tree is a weeping Katsura. Now, the first time I came across a weeping Katsura was at the house of Linda Brazil and Mark Turner in Madison, Wisconsin. Linda used to have a blog called Each Little World. We still keep in touch a little bit. Her garden is a delight. It's been featured in a lot of magazines and things before. But we walked through this path, and they had a path that led you basically underneath the weeping Katsura. And that is the thing about weeping Katsuras, is that you can usually sort of walk right underneath them. It also has a scent, and I don't remember experiencing it, but my understanding is it's like sort of a sugary scent, I think. I don't know. If you've experienced that, leave me a comment and let me know what that scent is that they get in fall. The next time I saw Katsuras was actually in Pennsylvania, in some gardens that I visited there. And I knew what they were immediately because this plant has been absolutely like stuck in my brain. Now we're gonna start with a real small tree. It's gonna be a while before we get to that point, and I will just have to remain patient. But the idea is I'm gonna plant that at some point that should get about 15 feet wide, and plant that at some position away from the path, with the idea that in time, the path will actually just extend right underneath it. And to me, this not only is going to be really lovely additional screening over here, but also just a wonderful feel in the garden. Another way to interact with your plants in the garden other than just looking at them. And once again, I'm really dealing with some grade changes here too. I don't know if you can tell, but I am really in a hole down here. So since we're probably going to be having to bring in some material for other parts of this garden anyway, I'm going to take advantage of that and fill in this area here and make this a little bit more level. So I actually really like undulations in gardens. I think changes in level make gardens very interesting. But when I think about changes in level, I think about like bigger changes in level. I don't mean these unintentional things that basically look like little bumps in your lawn. And that's my introduction to this new part of the garden. What I like about this project is that it's a little complicated. There's a few things we have to address. It's not as simple as just throwing some plants in the ground, but it's not huge. So I'm able to get into some of the details of it and some of the, and really refine things, because it's not done on an enormous scale of, you know, thousands of square feet of garden. And I think it's going to be a really cool addition. So I hope you'll follow along and join me as I create this new garden. And the best way to do that is just subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that already. And do let me know in the comments what you think about this. I can't wait to hear your thoughts on this. And I can't wait to bring you along with me for what is going to be a really exciting addition. Have a great day in your garden. We'll see you soon.